Now, workspaces are a feature that are standard in pretty much all Adobe software programs, and it's no different here inside of Illustrator. We can customize a workspace as much as we need to. Now, the workspaces are actually selected up here at the top. You can see in the control panel we have Essentials here. If we click on that, you can see there are a series of predefined workspaces, and we can choose any of those, but what we're really going to do is define our own. Now, like I said a second ago, the panels that we have available or currently defined by the Essentials workspace are all here on the right hand side, and to be honest, some of these we may not use during this training series, and some of them we really need quick and easy access to. So what we're going to do is really customize the workspace and make it a little bit more flexible for us as we move forward. Now, you'll notice that these are all collapsed off the right hand side. If we come up here to this small icon on the edge of the dock here, we can say expand the panels, and you see that reveals all of them at the same time. Now, this is very handy. You can see that we have not only main panels in here, which are sort of on the left-hand side, but also other ones which are tabbed inside of there, so you can switch back and forth between them. Now, like I say, some of these we're really not going to use. So what we're going to do is customize this entire area for specifically what we need. So easy enough to start from scratch. What we're going to do is grab the color panel here, and I'm going to drag it out into the window on its own. You see that I've now essentially floated that, just like these documents were floated earlier. I'm going to do the same with Color Guide, drag this out and close that down. We're not going to use that, all right? Not for now, at least. So let's pull out swatches. We are going to use this. We could bring out our brushes. Let's close this down. Do the same with symbols. Close this down. These can all be accessed later on. Don't worry, they're all there under the window menu, all right? But just for now, for our simple workspace, we're getting rid of the things we might not need. We'll pull out stroke, and let's also drag out gradient. And let's do the same with transparency. We will be using appearance, okay? I'm just dragging these around really to random locations just so we can see what we've got going on. So our layers one over here, and finally our artboards. Now what I'm going to do is just drag artboards over here on the far left-hand side and close that down. We will be using that, but not just for a second. So we've now got these main palettes that I think we're going to use, and we're now going to organize them into a brand new dock over here on the right-hand side. So we simply do that by choosing the first panel, which in this case is going to be the color one, okay? So we click and drag, and as you drag towards the right hand side of the screen, you'll notice this little blue bar will appear, and you get this small gray tab kind of comes out from the right hand side. Well, that's saying let's create a new dock here. If you let go of the panel, you'll see it now drops in on the right hand side, and you can double check if it's collapsible. Close that down, its icon will snap into the right hand side. Okay, so we've now redefined the opening panel that appears in this dock. So now we can simply tab all of the others directly underneath each other. So we'll start out with stroke in this instance. Now the stroke panel inside of CS5 has actually increased. There's a lot more options in here. And again, because we're working with limited screen space in this recording, I'm going to reduce it down just for now. So what I'll do is drag this until you see again sort of a highlight suggesting that we're attaching it to the bottom of the color panel here. Going to go ahead and do that, and then I'm just going to come over here and say hide options, okay, from the flyout menu on the side, and that'll just let us know the stroke panel is there. We can always show options in future, but as a default, when we save this as a workspace, I do want to see just this amount of space, okay? Now, we've already got stroke in there. We've collapsed this down. Let's do the same with our gradient panel. Let's come up here, go ahead and hide the options, and then just drag that across, and once again, snag it onto the bottom there, okay? Very, very easy to do. Now we'll also bring our swatches over here because these will be used quite a lot, and this is sort of one of our main color things. So you see I'm really grouping the main color items on the right, then we'll add all the rest in a short while. Now the swatches panel, as you can see, views in this document specifically, or the one I currently have selected, yours might be any one of these others, and you might see something different here. But you can see that there are 4 main swatches, and we just have an icon preview. Well, what I like to do here is come to the flyout menu on the side and go down and choose a small list view. Now this is handy because not only does it show us the swatch, but also the color name, which is very handy, especially if you're dealing with Pantone colors and things like that. And also on the right hand side gives us an indication that these are CMYK colors and not RGB or spot color in this instance. So I do like to have that. And again, if we specify this option now, when we save it inside our workspace, that item will be remembered. Now in the grand scheme of things, this right-hand dock is complete. We do want to add all of these panels, but still have a little bit more room. Well, what we can actually do is add a second dock, which is pretty cool. What we can do is add to this particular side here. So let's say we're going to take our appearance panel, okay? I'm going to grab that and drag it towards the left-hand side of the other dock. And again, you'll see it's now dragging in a new selection here. That creates a second panel. So we could go ahead and close that down. We could close down the right-hand one. You see we've now got 2 columns essentially. So we're using our space wisely, and that's really the point here. So I'll just open this up so we can fill in the gaps basically, and because this now expands to the whole height, when we do drag in another one, we're going to have to drag it in down at the bottom. So let's go ahead and take our transparency panel, which is hidden over here, or wherever you dropped yours. Let's drag that down, and you'll see that blue line appear. That now attaches it to the bottom. We can then do the same with the graphic styles. Let's drop that in there. And finally, let's take our layers panel and drop this down into the bottom. And then we could easily just grab this divider between the two and maybe just drag this up so we have more room to view our layers because we don't need everything else so expanded. Now, in order to save this workspace, we could go ahead and close this down so these aren't visible immediately. Then we don't sort of clutter up the desktop area that we're working with in our document. Now there's also the ability to add a dock on the left-hand side of the screen, and there are 3 other panels that I'd like us to bring into this workspace because again we will use these throughout our training and our artwork here. So for this, let's come up to the window menu and we'll go down and choose the transform panel. It's way down here towards the bottom, but you'll see when you select it, it brings up 2 other panels, Align and Pathfinder, and these are the other 2 that in fact I wanted, so very handy that these come together in this small cluster. But again, I want individual access to these, so let's drag out Pathfinder and Align. I'm going to take Pathfinder and drag it over here towards the tools, and you'll see that we create a brand new dock here on the left. Okay, let's go ahead and snap the Align palette to the bottom of that, transform onto this one, go ahead and close it down on the left-hand side. So now we've customized this area to give us sort of the maximum amount of usable palettes that I think we need at this stage in the game. What we need to do now is save this, so if we need to switch back and forth between different layouts in the future, we won't lose this particular one. So come up here to Essentials, let's go down and choose Save Workspace, and we'll key in the name CS5 Training Workspace, or really, it doesn't matter what you call it. That's what I'm going to name it here so I know exactly where it is. Now when you've typed in the name, just go ahead and click OK, and you'll see that that now appears up here at the top. So at any time in the future now, you could switch back over to Essentials. You could now come down and choose our CS5 Training Workspace, and that gives us our new layout exactly as we just designed.